Hi, CJ here for another video of passionate sharing about recovery tools, lessons, and real-life experiences from my mental health journey. I am not a medical or mental health professional, just here today to share more helpful information about my journey. Just a reminder, if you have not yet created your personal safety plan, please check out the link below or in the description to learn more about staying safe, because emotional triggers or darkness of depression can set in at any time and potentially during this video. Today's video, we're just going to talk about my story, what led me to make this YouTube channel. Okay, let's get started. And remember, you're not alone. Hi, I'm CJ. This is going to be just a video about who am I, who is creating a YouTube channel to share with you. I'm a 62-year-old successful IT professional. I've been happily married for 32 years to my loving wife. I have been successful in my career in life in so many ways, but I have learned that through suffering PTSD, that I used my intellect to cope with emotional issues throughout my life. As long as I felt good about my thoughts, I did not have to experience emotions to their fullest. I was a very young child when I learned to reason away my pain and suffering with my thoughts, and what I've learned is I stuffed my emotions. Through this mental health journey, I've learned that thoughts, emotions, and feelings should all be integrated together to complete processing, to complete the experience. All emotions are important. You must experience all emotions for life. Stuffing them is not healthy. You need all three of these components to work together to avoid stuffing of emotions. And it's not just the tough emotions that I stuffed. I've learned I even stuffed joy. I had some therapy in the past when I was suicidal in my early 20s. Something major would just come up. In that case, it was that I was diagnosed with an ovarian tumor, and it was really messing with my hormones. Well, that must be what's creating my depression and creating my needs and thoughts and attempts at trying to kill myself. That was pretty serious back then, and I just washed it away under the rug, stuffed everything. It was just the tumor. Then later in college, a few years later, I became suicidal again, and the attempts were significant and serious again. I can't believe at times that I'm still here enjoying this wonderful life, and just now learning I could have had it so much better. But in college, I brushed all these emotions, all those thoughts and darknesses that I experienced with all my suicidal thoughts and attempts. I just brushed them under the rug because I uncovered I was experiencing coming out. Well, that explains why I was so depressed and wanted to kill myself. We all know coming out is a very tough time. Well, all these thoughts, all these hard things that I was going through when I was coming out, with the fact that I was gay in my mid-20s, made sense. That's why I wanted to kill myself. It makes perfect sense. So again, I did not continue therapy. I did not continue to explore myself. I brushed all those emotions away and went on my successful career path. Work was always really important to me, and I used it as an incredible coping mechanism throughout my life to hide and mask the real emotions that I needed to process, that I needed to integrate. This is the journey and my story and why I want to share it on this channel. Don't ignore those thoughts that creep into your minds from time to time. You need to integrate, you need to process your emotions. Well, the accident, all these issues I was left with. Oh man, the headaches all day long, every day, never gone. I would wake up with them, I went to bed with them. This just didn't make sense. The dizziness, the fatigue, the nausea. So I was able to get some medication to help with the nausea. And when everything compounded and I experienced vertigo, I had medication for that as well. But nothing was helping with the fatigue, the sleep issues, the anxiety, the irritability. I used to love stress. That's what motivated me, was stress. After this accident, stress brought on all these symptoms. I was unable to handle stimulating environments. I couldn't go to a grocery store without holding on to a cart and following somebody. And that was when I put blinders on, glasses, dark glasses, a hat, earplugs to go into a grocery store. There was no such things as going to the football games. I'm a Seahawks fan, and a season ticket holder, so that was a really big deal. But I couldn't even go to the parks and enjoy myself. It was a very tough time to not be able to go into the office. Too much going on. I couldn't process it all. And the headaches, dizziness, the fatigue would just be too much. The diagnosis through that period of time after the accident was post-concussion syndrome. I was diagnosed with a concussion along with some shoulder issues and neck issues. But the main thing was what was going on in my head. All the headaches. This was my 5th concussion. So when I read about and read what post-concussion syndrome is, it made sense. But learning that I was going to just have to learn to cope, that I might not get better, that was really tough. Depression set in, serious depression. So these symptoms, to deal with them, I found that I just had to stay at home. I had to not socialize at friends' houses. This was pre-COVID. And when COVID came around, it was kind of normal for me. I knew how to deal with this and staying at home, not going to the grocery store, just enjoying my backyard. That's what I really did. The issues, I couldn't work. I couldn't handle looking at a computer. It was too stimulating. I certainly wasn't thinking about going into the office. But I did use vestibular therapies, and I was able to get myself worked back onto the computer, and I was able to do things a little bit better, cope better, but the symptoms were still there. And I was able to slowly start working. And everything just got a little better, but everything was still painful. I would feel good for a while, and then boom, headaches. Fatigue never went away. The dizziness, the nausea. So I finally pushed through these symptoms, and it's just like, this is life. You love to work, get back to work. I went back to work. I went back full time. I was in the office most of the time, and all of a sudden, one day, it was 10 months after the accident, 9 or 10 months after the accident, January of 2016, I have what I call a total eruption, a total overload. Something snapped. I sat in my recliner and got so dizzy I couldn't keep my eyes open. I got so dizzy I couldn't talk. I became paralyzed. I couldn't move my arms. I could only whisper. I thought I was having a stroke. I thought I was going to die. I thought I was dying. I said my final farewells to my wife and to my best friend who was visiting at the time. Incredibly scary event. Through this event, I ended up having seizures while I was in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. Those seizures lasted for 3 hours. They were diagnosed as pseudo-seizures. Well, what? All in my head? Really? No, I can't believe that. What created these seizures? This post-concussion syndrome stuff is real. I was pushing myself too hard. I just couldn't do full-time work. I couldn't try to do things like I was and just push them away and keep on going. Same treatment started over again. Vestibular, well, I just was beating my head during these seizures, so probably rattled the brain again. So vestibular therapy started over again, neck therapy started over again, shoulder, everything started over again. But the doctors weren't sure what they could do. That's how I was living until September of 2017. So another 1.5 years of just coping. I made it back to work 4 hours working from home. I couldn't go in the office. I couldn't make it beyond 4 hours. And I did that 4 hours by taking significant breaks, 2 hours, at least an hour break, work another 2 hours. I was managing what I had to try to get better. Well, back to September of 2017, a camping trip. There was this wonderful woman camping next to us with her dog. We were chit-chatting with her because we had 2 dogs. And, you know, that's what you do when you're camping. And I was explaining to her that it was our 30th anniversary. And I really wanted to go out to dinner. And while we were camping, there was only one place to really go out to dinner, and that was at a casino. And I was frightened that I wouldn't be able to enjoy my dinner. I had to wear my glasses, I had to wear my hat, I had to wear my earplugs. And I just wanted to enjoy my dinner with my wife. And she gave me an idea to try with grounding. And I'm like, wow, okay, I'll give that a shot. I'll try anything. So the next day I came home and I told her how well it worked. And I was able to relax just a little bit and keep the symptoms from getting too much to tolerate by just putting my hand on my wife's leg the whole evening. Well, it seems really easy. This grounding, I'm going to have to learn more about it. Well, the next day, in talking to this gal and her letting me know about grounding, and I thanked her, she says, "Are you in therapy?" I'm like, "No, I'm not in therapy." She says, "You need to find a trauma therapist." She says, "I believe you have PTSD." And I'm like, "What?" I don't understand how it could happen. And I'm like, how could this woman be making this kind of statements? Thought it was kind of bold. And then I learned she was a therapist from Portland. I'm like, oh, okay. As soon as I got home, I called my general doctor and said, "Can you make a referral for me to see a trauma therapist? Here's what somebody told me I might have, and I'd really like to explore it." Something, I could explore something. I looked up PTSD. My God, there's things you can do. You can fix PTSD. Well, that's my story, because I want to share what I have done and what I'm continuing to do to solve and get better from PTSD. And today, as I'm making this video for you, as I have been for about a year now, I don't have those headaches, the dizziness, the nausea,
the fatigue, the sleep issues, the anxiety, the irritability. I can handle stimulating environments. I can drive again. I have my freedom back. And I'm really improving my depression. It's just amazing when I look back and go, it wasn't a medical issue that really needed treated. It was the PTSD that really needed treated. Okay, now I want to continue this story just to let you know it wasn't just PTSD. My intake paperwork stated that I had incredible relationships with my parents growing up, as in my childhood. As we started to do treatment on PTSD, it was very quickly identified that the elevator accident, which was the accident I had, I was locked in by myself. I was trapped after falling and thinking I broke my neck. That accident had the door slammed. That's when I was trapped into the elevator. Brought back and triggered many childhood emotions I don't even have memories of. And through this wonderful processing therapy that is available for PTSD, EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this switch and what I've learned in the next video. And we'll talk a little bit more about EMDR as well. But what I'd really like to explain is, why was I being diagnosed all along as post-concussion syndrome instead of somebody saying you might have PTSD? Well, it all started from the way I started the story. I do everything with my thoughts. I never used until, I got therapy, but I didn't use the emotional side to experience emotions. And when I explained the accident, I didn't explain it in ways with emotion, just the facts. I tripped, I fell, I hit my head, backpack hit my head, I thought I broke my neck, I tried to get out of the elevator, I knew I was trapped, the elevator was acting like it was going to fall. There was all kinds of things going on. I just explained it, I didn't explain my emotions. And as soon as I was asked those questions, well, tell me about how it felt. Tell me about what you were thinking when you were sitting in that elevator thinking your neck was broken and you were trapped. Those are facts. What were you thinking? What were you feeling? What were your emotions? Interestingly enough, through therapy, it took a long time before I really even could say I was scared. I was petrified. Everything was very different through that accident processing until I went through the therapy to understand what the emotional side really was. When you start explaining the accident in a way that no one can hear me, I'm alone, that I don't know what to do to fix this. I can't make phone calls. I can make them, but they can't hear me. I don't know when help is coming. I've learned that this was just a stream of childhood suppressed emotions coming all together while in this one accident. I didn't know that. It took some time in therapy, and still today, the therapy has not been overnight for me, because you uncover one layer of the onion, then I end up with more memories as I allow myself to feel these emotions I've never allowed myself to feel. It's just one layer at a time. I call it peeling back my onion. That's why it's an incredible journey. I just keep learning more and getting happier, able to experience emotions. I still remember the day that I felt joy, true joy, for the first time. Like I said, in the next video, I am going to talk about a little bit more about EMDR and what this integration of emotions that needs to occur. It's now been 6 years since that accident. And it wasn't until early 2018 where I really understood that I could get feeling better. Processing my emotions, completing the process through the traumas, some of my physical issues were improving. My headaches were improving. My dizziness was improving. My fatigue. Obviously, with the diagnosis of PTSD, I did start antidepressants for PTSD. That helped a little. It took the edge off just a little bit. I started having less anxiety. I found that I didn't want to push myself, because if I pushed myself and tried to do more, I would still intensify these physical issues, the headaches, the dizziness. So it took a long time. And at the end of 2019, the very end of 2019, the beginning of 2020, I felt I was recovering from all of this. I was now calling myself recovering from PTSD. That is why I'm sharing this story with you. We'll break things down, but what really is important, I learned that this has been manifesting for so many years, and with that accident, it said, oh no, you are not ignoring me again. You're not going to brush me under the rug like you did when you had an ovarian tumor. You are not going to brush me under the rug again like you did when you were coming out. We're going to learn this, and you're going to be so much happier. I'm only 62 today. I've got a lot of life to live. Yeah, I wish I would have, woulda, coulda, shoulda. Yeah, we all know that. I wished I would have stayed in therapy out of college. I used other coping mechanisms. Workaholic. Drinking. I quit drinking, thank God, in 1987. I just don't even know what would have happened if I kept drinking. But I was very much a workaholic. I am no longer a workaholic. I understand there's so much more to life. I didn't know because I wasn't experiencing it. I didn't allow myself to feel my feelings. Any feelings. All feelings. So that's why I'm making this channel. This is my journey. Subscribe below so you can join it with me. Thumbs up if you like this video and you're going to look more often for what's going on in PTSD with CJ. Take this journey with me. You're not alone.